So, good afternoon, everybody. Again, very happy to be here. Thanks for Dr. Arnav for inviting me to this session and valuable insights shared so far. Incredible learning for me as well. But quickly presenting our story, and I'm happy to kind of take off from the points laid out by the previous speakers on the importance for community-based engagement when it comes to coastal resilience building, climate resilience building, and preparing for the future of coastal communities and ocean frontiers as a whole. Because what I'm going to present to you is a very ground up or a bottom up story. We started our journey back in the day, figuring out what can be done for a better climate resilience for coastal ecosystems like India and many such around the world. So I'd like to quickly share the the start of a journey where this is where we started back in 2018. We were back then working with the United Nations World Food Program and by a couple of space organizations, and we were analyzing the effect or the impact of disasters. This is one of the projects that we're doing, and there's an uncanny similarity that you see on countries or nations bordering oceans and the index of natural disasters. And you will see the higher the natural disaster index per country, the closer is to the oceans. And India is one of the top three when it comes to disaster risk index. So naturally, what follows through from this discovery is that we need to build a stronger coastal ecosystem, which means community, which means sustainable livelihoods for these communities there, and also kind of strengthen the ecosystem for preparing for a better food security, or improve food security in the future. We dug in further. We started working with the United Nations World Food Program, and we realized that the entire dialogue of coastal ecosystems and any kind of food security from the oceans is largely missing, not only for India but across the world. And where we're talking about almost 800 million small scale fisher folks, and I'll talk about marginal communities here because they need the most amount of attention. So even though there are over 800 million small scale fisheries, fisher folks in India, directly dependent on across the world, and 40 lakhs odd in India directly dependent on fishing as a trade for their day on day sustenance. But over and above, seafood as ecosystem feeds 3 billion people. So we are talking about a large ecosystem that really needs resilient adaptation and mitigation. And everybody is aware of the sea level rises, which is affecting industries, industrial towns, various infrastructures that are very close to the sea. But during our study of the ecosystem, we discovered, and this was something that we were very happy to discover, that and we studied India, Sri Lanka, and couple of other Southeast Asian nations, that the ecosystem per se are very digitally savvy. We went on with an expectations that maybe we'll have to train them in a lot of gears and a lot of digital literacy, but what we realized that uh, climate, oceans, and oceanic ecosystems are generally not part of a mainstream dialogue in most of the countries that you see. So they have developed on their own, and they have learned multiple different technologies to keep up to the standards of technology, and they are digitally pretty prone. So that made our work easy and also made engagement to their with them faster. So with that knowledge, what we kind of sliced into the problem, if you look into the problem, what all are the issues that they're facing. One is the fact that their operational cost have, and we're talking about marine fisher folks here, small scale, mid scale, not the large scale one. The operational cost have gone way higher, which means why so? Because they are having to spend more and more time out in the sea, uh, go further into the ocean to catch the fish, have multiple different or increase coastal climatic, uh, your cyclones that are affecting, at least for India, the eastern and west coast, the increased amount of cyclones affecting per year that has gone up twice in both the coasts. So their number of fishing days have reduced. So their overall the amount of money they were deriving from fishing has come down, and the operational cost have gone higher. So where the first thing that you start is providing them climate weather advisories in their own languages, fine tuned to their area of operations, and in a way that they can really just look at it and go. So we spend a lot of time working with this coastal ecosystems, marine fisher folks across western and eastern part of India. We had and then of course my team also consists of uh, the people from fishing family backgrounds. So we did a thorough study of how, what kind of information they need, what time of the day they need, when are they looking for, what are the traditional knowledge, because we are not replacing the traditional knowledge, we are augmenting the traditional knowledge with addition to what has happened from a climate change, climate risk, climate crisis perspective, which their traditional knowledge is not being able to keep up to. So that led us into a study, and we provide them, and then we started providing them marine and weather advisories on our app. This app is available in 9 different languages, which they can look from the comforts of their home and decide where to go for fishing, where not to go for fishing. Uh, what is the ocean current like? What are the algae blooms like? What is the weather looking like? So where they basically cut down their costs. So our basic KPI here is to be able to kind of reduce their cost of fishing, and to be able to make them a little bit more sustainable, profitable. And we did this over last 6.5 years, and it's still there. And so the app is used, and by communities that are lining our oceans of the Indian oceans primarily. We also worked with the United Nations World Food Program in countries like Sri Lanka, which is almost a similar kind of a profile. And we have also deployed the app in some other few other Asian countries. But having said so, the intention was not to just provide them the technology and just leave it at there. We wanted to understand if this is attending to their climate resilience completely, or something else that we need to do. So there are a couple of other things that came along with it. Is that these communities are very, very disconnected, very remote. So apart from just the app, we were also providing market linkages to be able to kind of study their trade better, to be able to help them sell the fish. So we have done that in the past as well, linking them to ecosystem, not necessarily we doing that, but linking them to ecosystems that will help them to the last mile supply chain. So that led us to really work with more than 60 odd fishing societies across India, 9 coastal states, a bunch of fishing community members, both fisherwomen and fishermen. And there where we realize what are their needs. Dr. Arnab was mentioning the fact that engaging the community at the grassroots, also understanding what are the skill gaps, and also understanding how to deliver a certain knowledge in a way that they understand, and you can train the youth. Because if you have to really uh, you know get go into a long term dialogue of improving our coastal communities, improving our climate resilience, improving the access to the rich marine resources that India is surrounded by, you will need the communities are your are your foot soldiers. So you'll need them to really analyze, understand, and learn everything which they can adopt and implement at their end. So we did a bunch of programs, and we realized that good that we have been able to kind of cut their fuel cost up to 40%, but also the fishing as a dialogue is becoming unsustainable because of multiple different issues. One is fishing overall, as in across the world, has not been very sustainably done. In India, comparatively to the world, we have done less damage to our surrounding waters, Indian fishermen. We don't have the means and the methods to really do that damage. So, in a way, a silver lining on the cloud that we have not really gone into degrading all our fishing resources. But even the fact remains that it is still unsustainable. So the communities needed an additional source of income, where which that did not take them away from their local villages. From They did not mean them to do a climate migration to a nearby urban space and engage in gig workers. So we had to find them something that they can do with their traditional knowledge that they have, doesn't have to do too much of upskilling. And that's where seaweed blended in lovely, and was kind of a extension of the dialogue that we were already having. So seaweed was fairly new for us, but what we also realized that it's easier to be trained. It needs less amount of material infrastructure. It can be done alongside fishing, which because we're looking for an additional income source and not an alternative source. and it can be done when you're not going out for fishing, and it can be done by the fisherwoman. So one of the key takeaways were that there was a lot of or a bigger involvement of fisherwomen when it comes to seaweed, and a formal engagement by fisherwomen than it comes to than in other fishing activities. And seaweed overall has been a win-win-win for not only the communities but also for the the people around the environment as a whole, and also the fact that it is a sustainable profit making ecosystems. I mean, you cannot drive a dialogue if it is not providing enough finance for the grassroots and for also the other players in the entire supply ecosystem. So seaweed for us present as a lovely opportunity where we our main interest in seaweed is, of course, apart from the fact that it provides an additional income source, it is also highest in carbon sequestration, which is needed for the current state of the world, the state of our ocean surrounding us, and the fact that you have enough and more varieties of seaweed where also you can explore multiple different value add extraction. So as I said, it's very important to find a solution that can provide them sustainable income sources in the future, where and it can it can hold through. So it's not only important for us, not only as just farming a seaweed was not the first thing. It was a means to an end where we can explore the various benefits that is being derived out of it. Second bit is the fact that whatever you extract from seaweed is completely uh, your organic, it is biodegradable, biocompostable, and completely bioderived, which is not which is in very unique even compared to other bioderived or biodegradable materials. It gives us, and for India as a country, it gives us multiple different value adds. Like for the farming or the agri input, it gives potash, which goes into the farming infrastructure. It's from the sea, but to the multiple applications of the land. So that's where our venture into seaweed started. And to be specific, India has the golden opportunity to really scale and grow the seaweed ecosystem in India. Uh, More than enough coastlines, and even 10% of our in our extended economic zones, if you cultivate, it provides almost 20 million hectares. Availability of labor, there is not too much of upskilling needed by the community to really start engaging in seaweed. It can be easily done. They all these fishing community members or coastal farmers, they know how to really swim in the sea. So that the availability of labor is there. Good thing happening is that there are a lot of support from the government in the last few years. Our Coastal Aquaculture Act is being revised to include seaweed, which kind of regularizes the space or legalizes, provide the legal framework where these communities can start and cultivating, as it did to the shrimp farming. The biodiversity laws has addition of seaweed. Our Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampadana Yojana has multiple different incentives or subsidies that are given to seaweed farmers. So there is enough and more government support. So of course, in the last few years, you have seen the PMO office talk about seaweed, and so that's a boost to the industry as a whole. And anything that you do needs a market infrastructure. The market needs to drive it. You cannot continue something there is no market demand. So enough and more demand. 90% of the current need for seaweed is imported in India. So there is a big requirement for import substitution there. And the fact that you are integrating so many markets, and the market and the entire seaweed application is it's a niche industry, but it is developing as we go. So there are multiple innovations that it allows India to really explore. So we our as of today, our work is what involves is we basically train these communities in cultivating seaweed. One step that happens before that, and I will come to the thing the market again later. But one thing that we do as a team member, and that is our core strength, is to analyze various different weather and marine parameters, where we really do multiple different spatial analysis, multi-criteria analysis to analyze where are the best spots to not only for the fishing zones that went as an advisory to fishermen, but also the best spots to cultivate seaweed. Why this is important? This is important Because if you don't analyze the marine fronts, and you see with like any crop, right? So you really need to understand where is the salinity, what is the sea surface temperatures, what are the pH values, what are the various dissolved oxygen, the multiple different parameters that we do that let us understand what species to grow where, and which can kind of promise the best optimum growth, where the communities are also feeling encouraged to cultivate this. So that's something that we do, and this is important. We spoke about, we were speaking about marine spatial planning. A big aspect of the planning is to get the right data in place, be it be spatial data or be it be ground up in situ data, and we use a combination of both. And that helps us understand the best fronts for growing seaweed, and we do it across India. And that helps us to really also understand what is the seasonality of where to grow. And that being said, we train the communities to cultivate the seaweed, and then we buy back and extract value add. And that's a continuous process that is in multiple, different regions that we're doing. But what is also essential in this day of climate change, that you not only you need to have a kind of a climate risk or de-risking model. So what we when we analyze the seaweed cultivation, we make sure that there are various stages that cultivation is happening and possible. Suppose there is a, we have planned out for the next 6 months, and the weather doesn't hold good, where the risk is the biggest risk. You should have other areas where you can also cultivate seaweed in the present, and where your communities are not suffering from a sudden gap of income. So that's where multiple other uh, things like a salt pan or aqua ponds kind of help us into really engaging or continuing the dialogue of seaweed farming. And these are things that can be done alongside as well. And we do a shallow, mid-depth, high sea levels of farming. Of course, high sea is something that is currently being worked out. We are developing the patterns. We are looking at innovations where it is more climate resilient, but this is what the plan is. And last but not the least, where you see there's an integrated seaweed park that you see at the end of the this one of the points, which is seaweed and fishing go hand in hand. By which I mean, you can actually take a portion of the ocean, you can put a fish cage, and you can do seaweed farming around it. It improves the biodiversity of the area. It also gives a single place for the communities to have multiple different sources of income, and that's what we are looking to grow. And that it's something that we're doing alongside other research organizations and other seaweed enthusiasts in the country. And we believe that's a significant boon to the biodiversity loss that has happened to the oceans around the world, and also the fact that the community has double benefit in continuing this work. So having said so, we basically now, since that we started working on seaweed, we have been able to engage fish farmers, and you can see a bunch of women. There's a kind of training that we provide, and it is a half a day training. We have worked with Dr. Arnav and his team in these training programs in Maharashtra. We are primarily, our anchor states are Maharashtra and Gujarat, but we're also working with other states in India, and we are looking to scale this work across India and across the world. Uh, Before I finish my conversation, I would like to kind of talk about the impact that we do. The organization that I represent, Clima Crew, we believe in impact first. The fact that whatever you do should have a positive impact towards the entire your ecosystem that you're working with, but also should have a positive impact environmentally and a long lasting impact toward climate. So the first thing is the fact that we engage with a lot of fisher women. That helps us in addressing your involvement or engaging or improving the gender participation in the ecosystem. I've been part of the fisheries ecosystem for more than 6 years now, and when we went purely dealing with fishing, there was very little involvement that we could do with the women fisher folks. Though they are 70% of the supply chain, they're then represented formally. Here, seaweed allows me to do that. So that was something that we were really, interested. One of the main factors that is driving the dialogue in the community, and you'll see large amount of women really helping us drive it. The second and one of the things that are being very widely talked across the world is the fact that it is the highest potential of carbon sequestration, which is definitely needed by the world's oceans and also by creature on lands like us. And Here, the interesting piece is there's much to be done here, and seaweed has multiple different varieties to over 200,000 varieties. But there's proof on ground that it helps in carbon sequestration, helps in purifying the oceans, helps in increasing biodiversity of the area where it is grown. We are working, since we are tech backed company, we are working with few of the enthusiasts, or few of the people who understand the climate modeling, to be able to build those models, to be able to kind of measure it, because it is very important that we measure, so that we can also understand how to really scale it and where to grow what. So that's something that really helps us. So a typical back of the hand matrix is 1 average square kilometer of seaweed farm can help secure more than 1,000 metric tons of carbon, which is more than whatever mangrove can do. So SDGs being one of the cores, and few of the SDGs 2, 5, 8, 12, 13, 14, be it be life on land, be it be life underwater, be it be your sustainable consumption. These some things that are at core of what we do. We are a for-profit company, but we are a thoughtful for-profit company, and we make sure that our continued dialogue with the marine ecosystem has made us aware of the various things that can be that India as a country holds, has the various marine resources that is yet to be explored, yet to be sustainably explored rather. But the fact that a few of the previous panelists were talking about important minerals that is coming off the oceans. So we look to kind of further dialogue as we go. Our marine spatial planning that we do internally, we hope to extend that to studies that are being done by other marine enthusiastic communities here. We're happy to kind of collaborate there, happy to kind of share our knowledge, and happy to kind of understand where a collaboration between the society, the government, and the markets can be done. The three can come together to build a sustainable model that is needed for a better future tomorrow as a whole. So I will end my presentation there. Happy to take all questions regarding our work later. Again, I'm Devleena from Clima, and lovely to be here. Thank you.